Hi, today I'm going to be building the Avro arrow. Stay tuned till the very end because you're going to be able to see the final product, which I think is very cool. Hi, so now I'm building the plane called the Avro arrow. This plane is a Canadian I think it's Canadian Royal Air Force, and it actually goes by the name of the CF-105 arrow. Now, the role of this plane is an interceptor. The manufacturer was Avro, Canada. The first flight was in 1958. It was canceled in 1959, and it was and the amount of planes of this type that were built were 5. And this is the CF-105 arrow. So, quick little history of this plane. This plane got canceled because of the Prime Minister John Diefenbaker in 1959. And he was the Prime Minister, and he abruptly stopped the production of the arrow. Kind of just random out of nowhere. And every single piece of the plane was destroyed. I don't think every single minor one, because I think there are still some parts left till this day. But it was still it was still destroyed. Now, this the cancellation of this plane by John Diefenbaker actually led to the shutdown of Avro, Canada. So it basically put a whole bunch of the highly skilled engineers and production personnel into having no job. So they had no job. Everyone was fired. So that's the quick history of this plane. And as you can see in the footage that I'm putting right now, we can see that I'm making the cockpit. Now, the purpose of this is, I'm pretty sure it's kind of obvious, but you're making sure that the person is safe, and it's where it holds all the gauges that the pilot uses for the flight. Now, I am making sure it bends down properly and matches up with the shape of the nose, so it will look nice and looks more like the actual plane. So the thing with this build is, sadly, that it didn't come out exactly how the thing is. Like, this plane had 2 people. It was a 2-seater, one behind the other. I didn't know that until halfway into the building, so I just wasn't able to really add it. I probably can do a second part of this video, and I could add that into there, like a revision of this plane. But yeah. So this plane was supposed to have, I think, around 8 missiles. Yeah, it has 8 missiles, and it's made to intercept. So it doesn't have any guns, and it was made for Soviet bombers, because Canada, this was in the middle of the Cold War, nuclear threats were rising, so they wanted to protect themselves from this happening. So right now, as we can see in the build, I am making the intakes for the engines that come later on. So I'm going to push these back after matching them up nicely, and this is where the engines are going to belong. Now I make it the right size for the engines so it can fit them later properly, and then I look at the actual plane and look how it is, so I see how the intakes and engines are connected to the actual plane. Now I start shaping the wings. Make sure it's the delta formation, which is basically when the plane has no ailerons. No elevators. So it's all one. The wing is all one. So it does elevation, pitch with one control surface, and it also does roll with the same surface, which is called an elevon. That's the control surfaces on delta wings, like the Mirage, I think. So now I'm making the tail strike, I think that's what it's called, of the aircraft. I'm making sure it fits, so I make sure how it fits in the actual plane. I make sure it looks like that, so I push them back, make sure it's short enough, and I make it round. Now I push everything up because in the real aircraft you could see that it has a push up. It doesn't just go straight into the center. Now I modify the engines a bit, make sure they fit right by pressing by changing the sliders, and then I make sure that the engines have the little cone at the end. You can do this with the engines, but I thought it would be nicer to do it with the fuselage for this build, just so it would look a bit nicer, because I think the engines in this game, I don't think they look right for that type of little ending. Now I lowered down like the little centerpiece on the fuselage, and I start making the rudder. Now I make the rudder long and wide, just like the real thing, make it flat at the top, and then I add the fuel. Now the important thing about the fuel is to make sure that it doesn't change the center of mass too much. And the reason for this is because if it moves the center of mass too much, that means that the plane will become unstable once there's less fuel. And the reason for this is that the center of lift, which is the center of the production of upwards force by the wings, needs to be around the area of the center of mass. The center of lift is the blue ball, and center of mass is the yellow ball, which you could kind of see in the background. What I'm working on right now, as you can see in the footage, is things to like cover up the gears when they close up. I move the landing gears a bit more, so I changed the build a bit so it can actually fit the landing gear. Now back onto the center of lift and center of mass, where I lift up and you can kind of see it just did a twist. So there you could see that it keeps right when I took off, it nosed straight into the air, which was an issue because you're not really able to take off. Now I edited the fuselage a bit more so it could fit the gears even more, because it kind of undid that. I don't know why. And I moved the engines so that the plane, the center of mass and center of lift can be closer. Now I make the intakes a bit better, make them closer, and then what I do is I go for a test flight. So now it's nearing the end of the footage, and I'm about to go into the game and show you how it acts. Before that, you could kind of see I'm editing the ailerons and the thickness of the control surfaces and wings. Take off, test it, and I've already done a paint job off of it because I thought the video would take too long. So yeah, I'm gonna go right into that right now. All painted up. Now, first thing, one of my main critiques of the plane is that the wings are way too low to be compared to the real thing. Here's a photo. Because the issue was the center of lift. Now, the center of lift has to be even with the plane. I mean, even with the center of mass, so it's more stable. Then we have our cockpit right here, has all of the internals. I did some custom internals, unlike with the previous plane. So yeah. And then I also, this is the main thing that I thought was very cool, added an internal weapons bay, so this will be able to open up. So we're gonna get right into it, and we'll be able to show you the plane. Now here's the plane in the actual thing. And they're gonna be able to see a comparison of the actual plane. Now here I'm gonna take off, and you can see here are our control surfaces. I didn't add yaw for this plane. It's just I don't think I wanted to add it. It kind of because I added the yaw for the thing. For the steering. Come on, take off. You've taken off before. Of course, it's not going to take off now. I bet that's what it's going to do. There we go. Come on. There. Alright. Remove the flaps. And here's the plane. So, main thing that the plane has is the weapons bay. That's kind of like the main thing this plane has. That's like what I've made. What separates this from my other planes. So we're gonna try getting higher, and now we're gonna go to the iron missiles, and you can just see I can drop them easily. I don't know why I dropped all of them, because now I'm gonna have to reset to the flight, and then I can close this back up. This plane, I don't think. Well, actually, let's see. I've not gotten it to 50,000 meters, which is the height it was supposed to be at. Oh no, it's 15,000 meters, 50,000 feet. So 15,000 meters is the height where it goes at Mach 2. So I don't know if this can actually go to Mach 2 at that height. I just know it can't go to Mach 2 down there. So we're gonna go check. I mean, it definitely goes Mach speed at even at like 32, 33. So it can, what's it called? I don't know the word. Where you go up. You could climb. You could climb while going at Mach speed. So that's good. And this is with afterburners on. Alright, the atmosphere is definitely getting thinner down here, because my trim is not being effective as much. Alright. 15,000 meters. Come on, reach it. And 15,000 meters. Now I'm going to try staying stable up here. And make sure that hopefully this can go at Mach speed. I don't think it can, but it might be able to. Come on, don't nosedive. I don't want that. And I don't think this thing isn't even going around like close enough to 15,000. It's like right next to 15,000. So yeah, this is definitely not going to be able to go Mach speed up there. But we can drop down and see if a nosedive will help. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Gonna drop down. The turn on this thing is very slow. It's because it was being too sensitive. And then here you can see the internal the cockpit. I made it sadly so it could light up. It's because these are made out of light strips. These things are actually made to be used as like internals. Well, I mean, I guess it would be okay if the buttons were I don't know the word of it. Lights. Like, it would be okay if the buttons were lights. But just because the panel is lights, I think that's what the issue is. And that makes it look weird. Now I'm gonna start pitching up very fast because of the trim that I set up while I was up there. Come on. Oh wait, this thing might make it to Mach 2 down here. I mean, it is at a down angle. But wow, if it makes it down here where it's... Oh wow, that is very impressive. Because the air is more dense down here because we're lower on the ground. So it's kind of shocking how it didn't do it up there, but it was able to do it down here. Alright, so because I haven't added yaw onto this, it's kind of hard to land. So I'm going to go back to the airbase and we'll see if I can land it. Such a cool plane. Thank you to whoever recommended me this plane, because without that recommendation, I would have never known this plane existed. And this is a very cool plane to like build. This was very fun. And then I did a whole bunch of painting, the Canadian little circle thing. I added blue lines, which is in one of the pictures. That added that. Added all these things, just, yeah. Main bummer on this plane, I think, is the wings, how they're way lower. and not having the second person. Alright, we do not want afterburners on while we are, getting ready to land. Wait, can this thing super cruise? This thing can super, oh my gosh, it can super cruise. Super cruising is whenever you have afterburners disabled, but you're still going past the speed of sound. Yeah, so this is a pretty powerful plane that I've made here. Too bad it was never real. I think if it was real, it's very ahead of its time. If it was real, it would have been amazing. It would have been like super powerful. Trying to slow down so I could land. This thing is shockingly more stable because in the beginning I had a whole bunch of stability issues. Like, it was super hard to be stable. So it's pretty cool how it's very stable now. If you're wondering why this is the amount of thrust that the engines are producing. The reason this says it's at 0.3.28 is because it has an idle throttle. Whoa, oh, that was not a good landing. I think something got damaged. It'll be fine. So yeah, that was the Avro Arrow, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. It was very cool making this, and whoever told me to make it, thank you so much.